Here is the 2025 Infiniti QX80 Sensory in radiant white over graphite. Full redesign this year. 14 years in the making, more horsepower, more torque, 3 to 4 decimals quieter than the prior gen. But is the changes enough? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides. I'm going to go over some pros and cons, and I'm going to give you some reasons why I would choose this over the competition. Starting up front. The LED daytime runnings are going to have a piano-shaped design that integrates into the reworked grille. It has more aerodynamics and a more motion design with an illuminated Infiniti badge LED headlights that work into the lower portion of the grille, which are front parking sensors, standard 360-degree reverse camera, standard dynamic digital suspension. And when you go up into the Sensory, you're going to receive the adaptive air suspension, which will lower 1.2 inches for better aerodynamics while you're driving to be a little bit more comfortable. And it will also go 2.8 inches lower in clearance for you to enter, and also for the cargo capacity, so it makes it a little bit easier because this is a big box vehicle and it's a heavy player, because this segment is filled with luxury and performance variants, and you're only going to have one engine option that's housed underneath the hood, which this year they dropped the V8 for a 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo engine. Now the unique thing about this is they have upped the horsepower by 50. The torque, 103 pound-feet of torque more, and it's a 9-speed automatic transmission instead of a 7-speed automatic transmission. Infiniti is claiming a 10% increase in MPGs, which is giving us 16 for the city and 19 for the highway, and we have a total output of 450 horsepower with 516 pound-feet of torque. But one of the reasons why I like the old QX80 is because it was a V8, which it's really hard to get that in this segment. When you go into Lexus, the same thing. Acura, they don't really make something this big. And the same thing with Genesis. It's going to be smaller, in which they don't even have a third row variant to compete with this, which leaves us with the Mazda CX-90. And I feel this is going to outclass it because it's a little bit bigger. You could tow up to 8,500 pounds, so they keep the same tow rate as the V8. 22-inch wheels, that's going to start on this trim, and it goes up into the Autograph with 20-inch wheels being standard. And going back to the rivals, unless you're speaking about the Germans, this is going to outclass everybody because it has more horsepower and torque. If you go into the pure trim, this is the least expensive luxury large SUV in its segment. Now, once you start going up trims, I would say the sweet spot really is this, the Sensory, because you're going to get a lot of the amenities that you're getting in the Autograph, in which they're going to add just a few more touches into the interior, which is the first reason why I would choose this over anyone in its segment, because you're getting that performance, you're getting a deal in the sense of you're just in the six-figure ballpark. And when you're looking at BMW and Mercedes, let's face it, you're going to spend a lot more money servicing those vehicles. This year, we're getting flush door handles, and the side trim is going to have the Autograph badging for the third window. But when you go into the Sensory, you can't really tell too much other than the wheel design and the fact that you're getting an air suspension. LED taillights with the piano design that goes all across the rear with the Infiniti script, QX80 badging, no exhaust to be found, but that was the same thing for the prior gen. It's still tucked right underneath here, but when you go up into this trim, now you're getting a 3D view plus a digital rear view mirror. So that's why I would say, instead of going into the Luxe, spend a few grand more, pick this one out, because you're going to get a lot more luxury and safety features in this trim, and you're going to be saving about 10 grand from the Autograph. And when you're thinking about the rivals, to get the specs that you're getting with this, you're talking another $5,000 to $10,000 depending on trims. And when you're talking about Lexus and Volvo, it's going to be the same thing. The only difference is once you get into the T8 or the Recharge, that's going to be a little bit quicker in the 0 to 60, but then this one's going to be better in all-round capabilities. Motion liftgate starts on this trim. Power liftgate going into 22 cubic feet of storage, which is an increase of nearly 2 cubic feet for just the rear. It will also lower to make it a little bit easier to access the rear. We have a home plug. Underneath the floor, it gets a little bit of storage, and like last year, Tucked underneath, we'll have the spare tire. And to raise the suspension or lower it, you can do so right here in the back. To split fold the third row, simply push the buttons and it will go down, increasing to 59 cubic feet of storage, which is about 10 cubic feet of storage more than the last gen. And you do the same thing for those captain seats that will increase to around 101 cubic feet of storage, which is over 6 cubic feet more than the prior gen. Semi-aniline appointed leather first and second row, heated ventilated seats. You cannot option ventilated or cool seats on the base trim. 14-way power seat adjustment with massage seats. Clips, 24 speakers start on the Sensory trim. Memory for the driver and passenger. The new QX80 keeps headroom and legroom with a sufficient amount for the front, with a redesign that is well wanted because it's been 14 years. Starting with the dashboard, Infiniti. You're going to have the open wood pores that starts on this trim going into two 14.3 information displays. This trim also starts with the digital rear view mirror, or the smart rear view mirror. And we have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto wirelessly. Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming Bluetooth audio, and look how seamless it just goes into play. Another thing that I like about the new QX80 is you have a dash cam for the front and the rear. You can see it here. You can record the event if there's an accident, so you don't have to worry about purchasing anything like that with Amazon Alexa. And you have an interior dash cam that will start on the autograph. On the gauge cluster, you can change the configuration as well. So I have it in the dynamics. You can change it into elegant. And you can change that into enhanced. Now with this, you also have a toggle switch that you can go through different settings and information through the gauge cluster, all with the touch pads on the redesigned steering wheel, leather wrap, heated multi-function with the paddle shifts. Heads-up display starts on the luxury, and a 9-inch HVAC for the front and the second row. You can also change your driving modes right here. So you can put it on your sport mode. And you'll notice it delivers a haptic feedback, so that way you know what you're pushing with it. Push to put it into gear, to raise and lower the suspension, and to put it into the 360-degree reverse camera, which is standard on all trims. We have the 3D view, which is a first for Infiniti. You can go all around the vehicle. You can also change different layouts, so you'll be inside the cabin and you can see through the hood. And you can see on both sides, as well as all around the vehicle for a far distance. Here is going to be a little bit more sporty. It opens up into a wireless charging pad. USB ports open up here, and we have the redesigned key fob for Infiniti. Open up here, the autograph will give you a cooled box, otherwise it's a deep storage pocket with a little storage lip. And the configuration of the dashboard into the door panels, I think they did a great job just with the stitch work, the gloss black. They just made it pop, and you still have physical buttons underneath the infotainment screen to turn on and off the sound system, the volume, and to change the tracks. Now you're gonna have some storage underneath here, and on this side, with that pass-through, you have a 12-volt charger, and the door is going to have soft materials everywhere where it needs, with the gloss black elements, one touch up and down for all the windows, and a long storage pocket with a beverage holder carved out. For the second row, captain seats, headroom's not an issue. These are also power adjustment 4 different ways, and you can adjust it forward with 17% increase in space for the second row. Storage behind both of the front seats, a 7 or 8-seater configuration will be on the Pure and the Luxe. The third climate control, heated, ventilated rear seats, USB ports, a 12-volt, and the autograph, you'll have a center console with a touch screen for your massage seats. The Sensory adds the biometrical cooling front and second row seats. 2 more USB ports, cup holders, door panel. It's going to have the same materials that's found in the front, and about the same size storage pocket, with the air vents in the ceiling and the sound system carrying on into the second row, as well as the large panel moonroof. For the third row, push the button, It will electronically move forward, and Infiniti is claiming 28% more room for the third row, and I can believe it just by looking at it. These are power seat adjustment for the back, USB ports on both sides, air vents. We fold this up here, so that way you can check out the headroom. It's actually a little bit more tight for top to bottom. Adjusting these back so we can check out the leg space. I'm at 6'3", and I think they've done a good job. The autograph will add the appointed and a leather third row, as well as heated third row. Total of 8 USB ports, a home plug, and a 12-volt. The redesign is finally here after 14 years in the mix. 3.5-liter V6 twin turbo with 450 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque. That's up 50 horsepower over the V8 that we no longer get, and over 100 pound-feet of torque more. Check this thing out. She gets up to speed quick. The old QX80 was already quiet, so to be 3 to 4 decimals quieter, that is very impressive. The drive is very smooth. The steering wheel is a lot more light than the prior. The seats are more comfortable. They contour to your body, especially because now we have the bolstering that will go against your sides. I wish it had manual cushion extensions. They don't do it on the QX60 either, and it is something that I always complain about because I'm tall at 6'3". It just makes it a little bit more desirable. But have the zero gravity seats, which make it a lot more easy to drive on that long journey because now you're sitting like you're on air. It definitely has a lot of performance whenever you're mashing on the gas pedal. Maneuverability, it's not bad. Visibility has always been great. I mean, you're talking over 8 inches of clearance. You're not gonna have any issues for a day in and day out use. Just the luxury overall is putting it in the same segment as the Germans. Pricing though, I wish that they did have a little bit more performance because you can start touching at an X7 M60i, in which when you go that route, you are receiving quite a bit of horsepower. You're talking over 500 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. That would be crazy if they gave like a red Sport to this. 4 trim, so I do like that it's a little bit easier to pick the trim level. Coming off the ramp, I mean, we're talking 22-inch wheels. This is huge, and yet barely feeling any of the imperfections. Box on wheels, hardly hearing any wind on the windscreen. And hard braking has a little bit of softness at the beginning, but then once you start mashing really hard, it clamps down, so it is good. And now for the performance. It's very torque happy at a low note. The exhaust that filters in isn't necessarily going to be as athletic as the V8. There's no way around that. They have polished it so it doesn't have necessarily a drone note to it. It's going to take me to some pros and cons. Starting off with the pros is the technology. Just a few years back, we received a 12.3 infotainment screen and a updated dash with a reworked center cluster. So doing this just 2 years later, I'm all right with that, and I like it because now we are right on tune with vehicles like Cadillac, and I think we're a little bit more superior than Volvo and as well as Acura because everything's a little bit more touch sensitive and cleaned up. Now the MDX also has touch screen. They're no longer using the Acura True touchpad, which has always been a con in my book. There is a touch of lag. You can feel it really on the low note, but once you pass that, the torque just becomes superior compared to the V8, which is definitely a pro. The big thing that I like about this vehicle is you have biometric heated and ventilated seats for the first and second row when you go into this trim, and it carries on into the autograph. And the reason why I think that is so cool is what vehicle you know does this, just starting in the 6-figure price point. Now, some cons to the vehicle: no increase in towing, losing the V8. The back seats can be a little slow whenever you're adjusting the second row to get into the third row. They obviously have some updates and quirks that you'll have to fix throughout because this is a full redesign. Everything has to be done through the infotainment screen. On the left side, you have buttons for your cruise control, for the steering assist, that is, to turn on and off the heads-up display, which I don't know why you would do that because you get that on this trim, and also to turn the auto start stop off, and then going into the steering wheel to do the majority of your cruise control settings. So I think they could have placed that to make it a little bit more easier, maybe put it all in one. I like that we have a dash cam because that's spot on with the rivals. A full pass-through storage itself is a lot better, plus a lot more interior storage for cargo capacity, and you're getting a little bit better MPGs. It does feel a little bit quicker. I feel that that's also derived because of the twin turbo engine design, and you have a lot more torque. I mean, when you're talking over 100 pound-feet of torque, it will change the drive dynamic. It will feel a little boaty at times, so don't think you can take corners because it's still a top-heavy vehicle. And going back to the rivals, when you're thinking about that extra performance, you're at Autograph money, which base trim on the BMW X7 M60i is awesome, don't get me wrong. It is one of my favorite, and it's a near 50-50 weight distribution. The actual best, dynamically speaking, is the Volvo XC90, but when you're talking about the BMW, you're gonna have to add $2,000, $4,000, and $5,000 features throughout. It's gonna make the vehicle more into the 120s, 130s, which the Autograph is about 110. Here, you're just over 100 grand, which is why I would choose this over the competition, because it's the least expensive. You're getting the best performance when it's compared to everybody in its class, and it's actually pushing now towards the Germans more than it's ever done. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like, and I'd like to thank Infiniti of Clearwater for giving us this 2025 Infiniti QX80 for our car review.